In the moment, the alarm sounded through the silence. No one shouted, no one spoke, but everything moved with such speed and precision, it left the viewer holding their breath. On the ground, technicians rushed in with alert eyes, their hands gliding swiftly over control panels, as if their movements were hardwired into muscle memory. Every touch, every nod carried the weight of a life-or-death chess match, where even the slightest misstep could trigger devastating consequences. Protective suits, headsets, and blinking red lights pulsed like blood rushing to the heart. This isn't a drill. This is the real moment. Tension seeps into every frame, and with every camera pan comes a sense of awe. Modern military technology isn't just mechanical, it's chillingly precise. You're not just watching a video, you're standing in the breathless heartbeat of war. The cockpit door sealed shut, cutting the pilot off from the noisy world outside, leaving only the cold mechanical sounds and the glow of blue holographic displays. Every movement inside was as precise as if pre-programmed, the control stick tilted just a few degrees, a hand-adjusted pressure levels, eyes scanning the data panels in constant motion. You don't see emotion, but you can feel the pressure pressing down on every fingertip. Lines of code automatically update speed, weight, pressure, and wind direction, all processed in an instant, as if the pilot and the machine were sharing a single brain. The air inside is so tight there's no room for error. Every button pressed, every connection to navigation, radar, and comm systems happened under a cold, unshakable tension. This isn't a place for drama yet. It leaves you breathless with its sheer level of control. In just a few short minutes, technology and human become one, and all you can do is admire the silent mastery of combat, where every decision is made at the scale of milliseconds. The roar of the engines came without warning, tearing through the thick, tension-filled air. The C-17 began rolling down the runway, heavy yet precise, like a giant steel creature, awakening from a slumber built for war. Every tremor from the ground rippled back through the aircraft's frame, surging through the pilot's body, sending chills down the spine of anyone watching. The speed indicator jumped sharply, the navigation system let out a piercing tone, and warning lights blinked like a heartbeat on the verge of bursting. It no longer felt like a takeoff. It felt like being launched into the unknown, where space, gravity, and time all bent under the weight of the mission. A wave of awe surged the moment the wheels left the ground, as hundreds of tons of metal lifted into the sky with a smoothness and precision that sent a chill down your spine. Technology has reached its peak of sophistication, but it's the pilot's skill, steady hands, flawless execution that truly takes your breath away. In every second of motion lies a stark truth. Modern warfare isn't loud, but it's sharp, like a cold, silent blade. Inside the cockpit, there's no room for hesitation. Every breath is timed with precision, every adjustment accompanied by the cold click of the control system. Flight data, coordinates, and velocity flash non-stop across the screen, forcing the brain to process it all in a split second. The air is so dense, it feels like breathing through steel. The coordination between human and machine reaches an almost perfect level of precision, leaving viewers breathless, in awe of the pilot's skill and overwhelmed by the ruthless efficiency of modern warfare technology. Though the destination wasn't officially announced, the words "Middle East" were enough to make everyone silently tighten their seatbelts. It wasn't just a location, it was a fire zone where every mistake could cost lives. Inside the cockpit, a holographic 3D map displayed the target, tactical rings rotating slowly, like the pulse of a heart stretched to its limit. Every sweep of the camera carried an unspoken fear that this takeoff might not come with a return. The technology may be razor sharp, but it's still the human at the center who bears the heaviest weight. Every successful takeoff is the peak of skill, technology, and resolve, but also the beginning of a mission with no guaranteed return. The last sound echoing through the air is the deep growl of the engines, pushing the atmosphere back like a strategic shockwave. The breathless tension doesn't come from gunfire. It comes from the chilling precision of a force fully prepared to strike, if called upon. As the wheels of the C-17 touched down on the dim runway under the Middle Eastern dawn, the entire emergency operation officially came to a close. The C-17 didn't just carry cargo or personnel, it carried a message. Wherever in the world duty calls, the U.S. Air Force will be there with precision. As the U.S. Air Force C-17 roared into the skies over the Middle East on a high-stakes emergency mission halfway across the world, another battlefield was unfolding in silence. Ukrainian drones had just launched a stunning strike on a Russian military convoy, and what followed shattered all expectations. At exactly 2:43 a.m., 3 Ukrainian drones silently pierced the darkness over Russian-occupied Zaporizhia, flying low, without signal lights, without a single sound, only the thick, heavy air trembling as if on the edge of shattering. Overhead, every rotation of the propellers echoed like a silent warning. No words were spoken, but everyone knew. The countdown had already begun, and now it was a matter of seconds. On the ground, the 8-car train carrying 560 tons of fuel rolled forward, unaware it had become the target of an attack calculated down to the last data packet. The drone operators didn't see with their eyes, they saw through heat signatures, GPS coordinates, AI algorithms, and night-guided sensors. No gunfire, no artillery yet. It left viewers holding their breath, stunned by a level of precision so cold it chilled to the bone. The strike hadn't happened yet, but the tension had already taken over every frame. This wasn't just warfare, it was a technological war manifesto, where every movement was calculated down to the millisecond. Not supersonic fighter jets, not ballistic missiles, but these small, quiet drones with whispering rotors and razor-sharp programmed minds are the weapons that truly make the enemy tremble. The DJI Mavic 3, once seen as a civilian reconnaissance drone, has been transformed by Ukraine into a silent war machine, boasting 56x optical zoom, thermal sensors detecting variations as small as 0.05 degrees Celsius, and navigation capabilities at 6,000 meters altitude, even in complete darkness. And it doesn't stop there. The FPV attack drones are outfitted with brushless motors, 7-inch propellers, and guided by F7 microcontrollers running custom firmware capable of straight-line dives at speeds over 140 kilometers per h. Each one carries an armor-piercing warhead engineered to penetrate 22 millimeters of steel in a split second. As the drone entered its final attack phase just seconds away from delivering the perfect strike, a sudden surge of interference tore through the silence like an invisible roar in the night. 3 kilometers away, Russia's LER-3 electronic warfare system had activated, unleashing high-frequency jamming waves across the sky. Its purpose: sever the connection, scramble the guidance, and force the drone to fall from the air before it reached its mark. The control screen instantly flashed with warnings: connection lost, signal fading, fragmented data, but Ukraine had anticipated everything. Within milliseconds, the drone switched channels, hopping frequencies hundreds of times per second across 3 separate bands. When GPS was spoofed, the system instantly switched to inertial navigation using accelerometers and gyroscopes. It all happened in under 3 seconds. The tension became suffocating, not from gunfire, but from lines of code battling for control in the dark. At exactly 2 hours 44 minutes and 30 seconds, the first drone entered its final dive phase, a steep plunge from ultra-low altitude, reaching speeds over 140 kilometers per h, just meters away from the target. The fixed camera on the drone's body shook slightly in the wind, but the image recognition algorithm stayed locked onto car number 3 of the train. In the next second, the 6 kilograms shaped charge warhead slammed straight into the 12mm steel hull, triggering a dual explosion first. A tungsten alloy penetrator punched through the armor, then a fuel fire ignited at over 500 degrees Celsius. The infrared screen lit up with heat like a wave of fury. The remaining train cars lined up like fuses ready to blow. The internal ventilation system, originally designed to balance pressure, had now become the perfect channel for fire. Within just 15 seconds, the flames had already jumped to the second and fourth cars. In the darkness, nothing was visible except a fierce red glow and a column of smoke rising hundreds of meters into the sky. But within that silence was the scream of engineering, a deep, silent roar of precision. It was a moment of absolute awe for those who had turned data, imagery, and time into weapons so precise they sent chills down your spine. As the first missiles were launched from a concealed position deep within Ukrainian territory, Electronic warfare UAVs sprang into action. Flying at an altitude of nearly 18,000 feet, they unleashed smart jamming signals that completely scrambled Russia's surveillance radar systems. On the radar screens of Russian air defense units, a storm of false signals lit up, creating phantom convoys, decoy strikes, and a maze of ghost targets, leaving Russian gunners unable to tell what was real and what was an illusion in the darkness. That was the moment when missiles equipped with heat-seeking penetrator warheads began slicing into the target zone like invisible blades. Each one flew just over 100 feet above the ground, hugging the terrain to avoid detection, exploiting every blind spot in the radar coverage, every gap in the sweep cycle of the scanning dishes. At exactly 3:26 a.m., the first missile struck the third car of the train, the one packed with compressed diesel fuel. The explosion erupted like a miniature sun on the ground, blasting nearby cars off the tracks and incinerating everything within a 100-meter radius. Moments later, the next missile slammed into the section carrying food supplies and equipment. Everything erupted in a rain of fire. The third missile, thrown off by interference, missed the train cars and instead struck the tracks ahead, collapsing the rail line and sending the locomotive and several fuel cars careening off the rails, tipping over and spilling thousands of liters of fuel into the earth. The final missile ended the nightmare with a direct hit on the last fuel car, turning the entire area into a blazing sea of fire flames, soared hundreds of meters into the sky, visible from over 30 kilometers away. In less than 5 minutes, a train once hailed as the lifeline of Russia's rear forces was reduced to a graveyard of steel, where hope, supplies, and belief melted into molten metal amid the flames. No need for armored divisions or battalions of tanks. Ukraine used just a few technological links and pinpoint precision, yet it was enough to shake the entire backbone of Russia's military logistics. This is no longer traditional warfare. It's a clear sign of a new era where a single keystroke, a satellite signal, and a handful of small UAVs can reshape the entire battlefield. The unmanned strike on the Russian train was not just a strategic act of destruction, it was a living testament to how modern warfare truly operates, silent, precise, and razor-sharp like a surgeon's blade. In the dead of night, technology, data, and human resolve fused into one, forging a force that transcended every traditional rule of warfare. No thunderous gunfire was needed, just a single click at the right moment, and an entire enemy logistics system was erased. That is the most terrifying weapon of all: silent intelligence.